How you doing? How everyone?
It's always good to be on a session with you.
Same here.
Okay, I thought you were not going to say same here. I was scared. So,
Yeah.
first of all, thank you very, very much for joining today. I don't need to explain why I'm saying, but I'm just very grateful that you were
Mm.
able to make it, and thank you for always being so supportive. So, just to give
Always.
a bit of a background, I mean, we shared your profile already, so people already know who you are. And yes, we're live. I just checked again. So, one sec, I want to share a link with you. Okay. So
Okay.
I was saying that people already know who you are. Like, who doesn't know you? I don't know, Sha. Some people might not, but
No,
for
loads
the
of
bulk of
people
people,
don't know me.
oh,
We're,
okay,
we're still
okay.
working. We're still working on the ministry.
You're still working on the ministry. Anyway, so
We have to get to the
everybody,
permanent site.
you also get to remember that site. Okay, so welcome everybody to Rethinking Personal Branding. With me, Omodara Adediran. As you know, every Thursday, or at least every week, because today is Tuesday, but then LinkedIn
Mm.
decided to be funny guys last week, so we couldn't have the session last week, and now we're having it on Tuesday. But the whole idea of this session really is to get people to really rethink what personal branding means, and to help them, work towards really setting up what it means to have a personal brand that's authentic, that's based on your values, and that's also based on long-term impact, and not just one of those random flash in the pan type things. Oh, see me, I'm here sitting with
Mm.
this person and whatnot. So every week, or as often as we can before I commit, we will be bringing different people up on this LinkedIn platform, my LinkedIn page, to really discuss what it really means to set up a personal brand. And that's why we're looking at so many different topics, because we know that this affects people who have been in the industries for a bit. This affects people who want to make a career switch, and this also affects people who are just climbing up the ladder and not really sure what to do, right? Either you're a career person or you're an entrepreneur, and whether you're deliberate about it or not, the truth is everybody does have a personal brand.
Looking
But
at
then
so
you
many
can
different
decide
topics
to,
because we know that this affects people
I can
who,
hear myself. So but then
have
you
been in the
can,
Sorry, it's not. for a It's, bit. This it's
is
actually
that
from
me?
me.
Okay, it's from
Yeah,
me.
it's
Okay.
actually from me.
So so that will so the idea is really for us to help these people, show them what it is to go
Career
on this
switch,
journey
and this.
basically, and to really just walk them through the ropes, especially the fundamentals and the principles of what personal branding has to do with. So today we are speaking to Rogba, who is a creative guy, a
Creative
filmmaker,
guy. That's basically it. Creative guy.
creative guy, filmmaker, producer, director, writer, all of the above. And
All of it.
it's really good to have you here, Rogba, because I think that especially with creative people, people think, oh, sometimes people think, okay, when I just do the job. I mean, when it's entertainers know what to do regarding personal branding,
Yeah.
especially like the artists or the actors. But people who are behind the scenes, who might be like producers or writers or directors or whatnot, sometimes don't feel the need to project themselves or even try to build a personal brand of some sort, because they're like, I'm not the one in front of the camera now, so what's my own?
Mm.
So that's why it's so good to be having this conversation with you and really get your perspective on it. Hi, Sheriff.
I
Sheriff was
say
here Sheriff was here 2 weeks ago. Sheriff is
two
our
weeks ago.
guy, right?
Yes, he
Sheriff is
is.
our guy. He's our tech bro. Sheriff, from entertainment to tech, he's our tech bro now. Tech bro in the house. Anyway,
Yes, he
so
is.
what I really wanted to start off with, Rogba, is I really wanted you to just give us a brief background about your journey in the creative industry. Where did it start from, and where are you now?
Hmm. Okay, think, I mean, let me start with the formal things instead of the informal things. But basically, I started my journey in the creative industry in 2007, I think, about 2000, 2000 or something, sure. When a couple of friends and I started Night House Entertainment, which was a record label and an artist management company. And we did that for a couple of years. And while in that space, I got exposed to a lot of other things, because you have to shoot music videos. We also got into recording audio jingles for companies and stuff like that. So I got exposed to advertising. I got exposed to filmmaking, well, mostly video filmmaking to a large extent. And you know, after we had gotten to a certain point in Night House, we felt like we needed to diversify into a lot of other things, and so we moved into production for advertising.
Mm.
And then from there I got really interested in the whole advertising thing. I remember having conversations with you about that because you were already in the advertising space, and
And because
saying,
I'm
I
awesome.
feel like I would. Yeah, because you're awesome. And I was like, I really want to see what this is like. So I got involved in that. I remember the person who gave me my first shot was a friend of mine, Jay Chukwemeka.
Mm.
He runs Imaginarium Marketing Communications, and yeah, so I worked with them for a bit, and it was a really enjoyable, you know, time for me. It also helped me as a creative. I mean, managing artists, being an artist manager and a record label manager, um, helped me a lot being able to, divide divide the but separate is the word I'm looking for, between my core creative skills and my administrative skills. But being in the advertising industry helped me a lot more. And eventually I got a job at S1U. Shout out to Tiger, the ECD. And I worked on a team there. And having to manage creatives.
Mm.
I mean, managing artists is one thing, but managing creatives, and then you come to discover that the creatives are the same. You
Tell
know,
me about it.
at the core, creatives are creatives. So having to manage people in that space, was a very interesting thing for me, and I really got to understand, you know, what it meant to be a creative because I was a writer,
Mm.
but I also had to manage a team. So it was a really interesting time. Mm. While I was there, the creative part of me started clamoring for more attention, and so I looked around, thought about what I'd like to do next, and filmmaking just came to me naturally, and so I shot a film. I made a film on my mobile phone called Tokunbo, and the film kind of like did a lot more than I thought it was. I thought it was just going to be something I just put on YouTube, get a few likes and a couple of people just be like, oh, okay, not bad, but it just really blew up. Became something that was screened in a cinema, and it was just, I mean, it was winning awards from different parts of the world. People were contacting me from all sorts of places, and it was a very interesting reaction, because I wasn't expecting it, and from there, I, I'd been feeling this call to move, into the next phase of my life, which was the filmmaking thing, apparently. But I've been resisting it a lot because stable income, you're working in a place where you're getting an income daily, and then you want to
Yeah.
jump out back into this entrepreneurial journey, and it's not even like before. Yeah, now you're going into filmmaking, which is an area that I didn't know that much about in terms of like I didn't have a network per se. I mean, my wife worked in it, but back then she was a makeup artist,
Mm.
so it was a huge jump for me. It was a huge leap of faith. I just had to trust God because at that point in time, I knew that that was what He was saying, and I was hungry for more, to be honest. So I, jumped into filmmaking, started doing adverts for brands, corporate documentaries, just doing that on my own. And over time, I started making a few connections here and there. And then I hooked up with Tosin at Remote Productions, and we started making TV stuff. And
Mm.
the rest is kind of history. So
You
now
know,
I'm where I am.
awesome. That's really interesting. And thanks for sharing that, Rogba. One thing I really wanted us to touch on is, as you were sharing your story, one of the things that came to mind for me is that, first of all, what kind of transferable skills did you have? Because a lot of times when people want to take the leap, they begin to think that, okay, what kind of skills do I have? And how can I
Mhm.
use these skills in another industry? So my first question is, what kind of transferable skills did you have? And how did you kind of showcase the stuff that you had? You see what I mean? Because all these times with writers, I find people who say, who maybe start off as copywriters, and because they are copywriters, especially in ad
Mm,
agencies, they don't
yeah.
really feel like they can break into film because they feel like screenwriting is a completely different thing that, maybe they have to go to film school for, start all over and stuff like that. So there's lots of, issues around, okay, confidence, okay, is this something I can easily get into? And I want
Do
people to
I understand?
also, kind of like see the work that you had to put in. So can you just like really tell us about that? Like how did you identify those things and how did
Okay.
you kind of like use them in the next industry you were going to like get recognized, even with your friend? Like how did you tell him like I'm the guy, give me a chance?
Mm,
It's because
mm,
it's business, it's not friendship, you know?
it's not
So yeah.
there's money involved. Okay, I think the first thing that I would say, I mean, before we start talking about skills themselves, is I find that doing a ton of research about what it is that you want to get into is very important.
Mm,
I'm one of those people that believes that you should learn. You should
mm,
learn as much as you can about any given topic, especially if you're going to be operating in that field.
yeah.
But I also remember that back then I used to think the same thing, or I have to go to school for this particular thing. If I want to break into advertising, I need to go back to school or take some kind of professional exam. If I want to break into film, I need to go to film school. I mean, I did apply to quite a number of film schools.
Mm,
But what I find is um, if you focus too much on the formal part of learning, then you do not get to move forward as quickly. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with formal learning. I'm just
mm,
saying that sometimes you need to just take the plunge. So,
mm,
identifying skills that I had, I mean, one of the things I know that I did was I looked at soft skills, not necessarily the
nice.
hard skills themselves, because every industry requires some level of soft skills. You understand? So
Mm,
I'm creative. I know how to network. I know how to talk to people. I know how to manage people. Things like that. So, for example, I'd managed artists as a
mm,
record label owner. I managed a staff of people, and this was me coming straight out of university, while I was still in university actually, with no work experience whatsoever. And I just got people together and found that some things came naturally to me. So what I would do is I would try to show up these strengths that I felt that I had. And anytime I encountered a problem, Google is your best friend. YouTube, YouTube is your second best friend. I would just
mm,
Google YouTube, check out people that I would put up as maybe role models in that particular industry, and look
mm,
at what it is that they did. Look at the skills that they would put on their resumes and stuff like that. And I find that that helped me a lot. um no one ever feels fully prepared. I mean, even if you're
mm,
if you're out with the MBA and all the certifications, work experience is really what it's all about. So for
mm.
in the case of going into filmmaking, for example, I
Yeah.
just got my hands dirty. I said, you know what, I don't know that much about filmmaking. I have never been to film school, but I feel like I have an eye for what's good and what's bad. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a film. I'm going to make the cheapest film I can make. I didn't have any camera. I didn't have any gear, and
Mm,
that's basically what I went ahead and did. Now, in
mm,
the process of making Tokunbo, I learned a lot. I learned about the editing process. I learned about the filmmaking process itself. I learned about scheduling, artists, and it was, sorry, actors. And, that in itself was a bit of an education. So
mm,
that by the
mm,
time I, transitioned fully, I, I, I wasn't green. You
mm,
understand?
mm,
So it's almost like creating your own work experience.
mm.
You get what I
Smart.
mean? So
Yeah.
there are things like I'm a copywriter, I want to write script, you know, then
Yeah.
figure out, research, look at great movies that have, great scripts, and then sit down, why is the script great? Try and break it down in some kind of formula, and then write and start entering your scripts into competitions, start sending your scripts to producers, things
Mm,
like that. That's basically what I did.
mm,
Um, I remember before I joined the advertising agency, one of the things I did was I asked for an active brief. I said,
Mm,
oh, do you have any open briefs right now? Let me just write. And, if I write and send it to you, if you think it's worth it, then give me a shot. And that's basically what I did. I just wrote scripts. They pitched the scripts. Client liked the scripts. I was in as a copywriter. Do you understand?
love
And
it.
while I
Yeah.
was there, I kept being inquisitive. When they wanted to shoot adverts, I would go on set. I would talk to the director that they bring in. I would talk to the, talent. I just try and find out as much as I could about everything, and
Mm,
then I try to make connections in that industry, no matter how small they were. And
mm,
I mean, you find that every industry, everybody, not every industry, everybody has skills. They have the skills that they have certain things that come to them naturally. So it's about identifying what those things are and seeing how those
mm,
things can fit into the space in which you are planning to walk into. That's
love
basically
it.
what it is. And then just get your hands dirty. I tell people, just do it.
Mm. I love that. I love that. I love that because it kind of reminded me, even though it's not about me, Sha, but I'll still say it. It's it kind of reminded me of being in university and not knowing what I was going to do with my degree. Like after
Yeah.
having so many issues, moving from one course to another, it was just nightmarish. Everybody knows that university
Yeah.
story. And as I was
Yeah.
there, I mean, like my greatest supporters were like, "What even is creative arts to start with?" And I'm like, "I don't know either." So as I was trying to
Mhm.
figure it out, I remember stumbling on advertising, and just like you, I brought one book from I think it was Orange Academy then, and I just
Yeah.
started like trying my hands on briefs, and like reading, writing them. I remember I first of all thought I was going to be a voiceover artist. That didn't go quite well. So
Mhm.
then I was like, okay, I was going to be a writer, and then I started writing
Mhm.
poems. I don't know who publishes poems for
Mhm.
Adsha, but that's how I kind of got into advertising
Yeah.
myself. So I agree with you because when I got in, a lot of people were from Kiniko School of Journalism, something, something. Me,
Exactly.
I knew none of those things. I just came based on natural talent, pitched, and was
Mhm.
in. But I think there's also an element in there, especially for people who are already in an industry and they're relatively comfortable. And I think this will really
Mhm.
speak to maybe your time from being in SONU into going into the film industry. Apart from
Okay.
confidence, let's be honest. We're from okay, no, I don't like saying that, but let's be honest as a result of our situation, where we
Yeah.
live, the part of the world where we're from, it's not very
Mhm.
easy to take those kind of decisions, especially when you have a family. For some people,
Mhm.
they'll say relatively you can afford to be reckless because if you go hungry, it's only you that
Yes.
go and sleep
No.
under the bridge. But then for
Exactly.
some people, you see, there's so many other things they want to do, but they are thinking that at least paycheck is coming every month and pay
Every
my child
month,
school
and
fees.
and
We're stocking
and
up the
and well,
pantry.
well, yeah, we're paying for electricity. We
We're
have all
paying
our
for
bills covered.
electricity.
So why,
So
why,
how
oh why?
exactly? So how did you manage that bit, especially maybe like the pressure from family? Because I don't know if
Mhm.
everybody would have thought that it was a great idea, especially because
No,
it's like it's not like
a
they
lot of
know
people
you
thought it
did
was
your,
a lot of people
you
thought it
just
was a
want to take.
very stupid
But me,
idea.
I supported you, Abby. I remember I
Yes, you
said,
did. You did.
"Girl, there you go."
You
Anyway,
did.
but
And I have to shout out my wife. She's one of the most supportive people
yeah, I
like
agree.
in my life. She's practically like a just explain it to me. If that's what you really want, let's go do it. That kind of thing. And
Yeah.
she's been we've been together since before I was running a record
Mm,
label. So she kind of understands the kind of person I am and how I just
yeah.
want to, I want to do
Yeah.
things all the time. And there's a friend of mine who talks about multi-potentialism. I
Yeah.
hope,
Yeah.
Adora, I hope I got that right. But you get what I'm saying. And,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she
Yeah.
talked about how each of us is not necessarily confined to one certain thing. And I know
Yeah.
that for a lot of my life, I've felt like there's more. I've always just
Mm,
felt there's more, there's more, there's more. So I constantly am striving to see how, I mean, it's one life. We don't get do-overs. So I want to live it as much
mm,
as possible. I want to live hard so that I know that, I did everything that I could possibly do while I was alive. Because
mm-hmm.
it's said that when you speak with old people, and I find this to be true with my mom, my dad, my grandparents and stuff, where most of they never wish they could have more money. They never wish they just have regrets about the things that they didn't get to do, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
And
Yeah.
So that's one thing that really pushes me. We're all gonna die anyway, so
Yeah.
make the most of it while you're here. In terms of how how to manage the process of not going hungry, especially when you have a family. I mean, I had a
Yeah.
family and two kids, but one of the things I had been doing, while I was working in the agency, I wasn't I wasn't restricted to just my paycheck. You
Mm.
know, I did gigs on the side. I did
Call it what it is. PP. You did PP.
I did plenty PP. I did plenty
And
hustle.
you're a contract staff, so I mean it was fine.
I was a contract staff, so it was fine, and I wasn't doing anything that was um in
What's that
direct
thing?
competition
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
agency.
conflict of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no conflict. So the agency was doing agency work. I would just, maybe help someone write a pitch. I would,
Mm.
you know, do you understand what I'm saying? I'll do music
Yeah.
stuff, just things like that I could, that came my way. I remember there was even one time I did an activation. You know,
Mm.
I wasn't
Yeah.
working for an activation agency, so I helped
Yeah.
an agency run an activation campaign, and those were things that I was doing on the side. And I remember that I also tried to bank,
Yeah.
a bit. I'm saving towards this dream. I have this dream, so I'm
Awesome.
saving towards it. And I mean that there are two ways that can go. There are people who are saying, "Oh, I have a lot of savings, so
Yeah.
I'm keeping all this money," but it's never enough.
Mm.
They
Mm.
keep sitting down thinking, "Oh, no, have I saved enough?" No, 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 no. Let me save some more. No, I mean, if you have about 6 months to 1 year, depending on your risk appetite, um,
Yeah.
worth of living expenses saved up, then you're good to go. I mean, take the
Mm.
plunge. The worst case scenario is you fail and you go back and get
Go
another
back.
paid job.
I know. I know.
That's
I know.
that's the worst case scenario.
And
That's honestly the worst case
yeah.
scenario.
I mean, from what you've
So I
said
think,
now, we could. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead,
please go
Rogba,
ahead.
please. No, no. Go
So
ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like it's the fear that paralyzes most people.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, I mean, it's the fear of, not necessarily the fear of going hungry, because there are people who have this money saved up. They know they possibly can't go hungry.
Hmm.
And even if they do go hungry, they know they can easily get another job. You get
Mm.
what I mean?
Mm.
But it's the fear of the unknown, the fear of, oh,
Mm.
what if it doesn't work out? Then I have to come back with, my tail between my legs. I mean, guy, it's life.
Mm.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Live your life.
I
Half
really
the people
loved.
you think are bothered.
I love that you said that because from what you've said now, I mean, to really take that leap and to deal with
Mm,
everything, I've highlighted a few things: a supporting wife or
yes,
husband,
very, very important.
whatever
Yes,
your
a
case may
supporting
be.
partner. Supporting
You
partner.
know,
Very key.
um, I think you also said having the confidence to take the leap.
Yeah.
Then you also said you said something else I was going to highlight, and then I completely forgot. You spoke about the confidence, and then you spoke about, even I really like the thing you said about, even if it doesn't work, worst case scenario, you go back. I really like that because the
Yeah.
first time I took a leap to doing something I felt was more meaningful, I
Mm,
remember then that, oh my god, like I literally swore like it was crazy. I thought that, like when you talk about like volunteer like charity work, it's like how you have it like in
yeah.
the UK and stuff like that.
In
So I
the
was like,
UK.
oh,
It's like
I just
it's like
want
in
to
the movies.
serve. I just want to serve. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to give back, give back, give back. But
That's the short route to
I
hunger.
loved doing it, but
But
it
you
was
got
very
bills.
fun.
You have bills.
Bills. Luckily for me, I mean, some savings did save me. Did you see what I did
Yeah.
there? Did
Yeah,
you see what?
saving saved. Yeah, yeah, you got
Some
it.
savings
You
did
rhymed.
save me, but in addition to that, at a point I realized that there were people who actually had careers that were impact focused. So it
Yes.
means that you can do meaningful stuff. Like people were employed in NGOs, people were employed in
Exactly.
governmental or non-governmental organizations, whatever the case may be. And then
And you wouldn't have discovered that if you didn't even take the leap.
exactly. So, after taking the leap, and I was like, this is not sustainable because before you know it, I might be sleeping under a Keja bridge. I just did a U turn
Mm,
and said, okay, how can I make this a career? And then I
yeah,
took up a job,
a
and that's
corporate
why for
position.
me, yeah, I feel like for me, I think that's something else that also maybe helps is that, really this thing about never saying never. Sometimes thank you, Zuleika, for recognizing my rhymes. I truly appreciate that. Um, is sometimes we say, oh, I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to get into this session. I cannot be involved. I can never go back to this. I don't think that's necessary, because in the end, you never really know what life is going to be like, or what kind of positions will open up. I mean, even if you look at the
Exactly.
entertainment industry, it's been a lot more formalized than even when I was an entertainment
But
manager.
yeah.
And people
I
are,
mean, it's way better. It's developing now.
yeah,
People
and they're
people are earning paychecks from working
exactly.
in the
Them
entertainment
actually have
industry.
marketing managers, they have social media
Yes,
managers,
they
some of
do.
them have writers. So
Yes.
it's being formalized. So you can imagine if you had said, "Oh, I'm never going to work for anybody. This part is just useless." Look at what it has become
Mm.
now. So I really like that. You
So let me
highlighted
tell you,
that. Yeah.
before I even stepped into this entire entertainment thing, before I even started the record label, I had struggled a lot with what I wanted to do in my life because I studied engineering. My father was an engineer; he had an engineering
Yeah.
firm, and it was all about study, and then take over the company. But at some point in time, I
Mm,
realized that engineering really wasn't my thing. You know,
mm,
um,
mm.
and I struggled a lot with stepping into the entertainment field because I just kept thinking to myself, these people are hungry now. I mean,
Yeah.
these people, we still see them taking cabs. They
Yeah.
just have music video, but they are still hungry. All that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
I remember that I really prayed about this. I really, really prayed about it, and eventually, I just got
Mm,
my answer. Dude, this is it. This is
yeah.
what you're meant to do. And so I went into that, and I went into it with the mindset of it's got to work.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
just has to work. And so I didn't turn back. That being said, I find that a lot of people don't also understand the importance of not burning bridges. Because you're leaving an
Ah.
industry to go do something else doesn't mean you need to shut down that entire, I mean, it's like people that want to relocate and just say, oh, we're leaving Nigeria, and then just burn all your bridges and then go to
Mm,
another country, and then you get stuck there, and then you can't come back because you burnt all the bridges.
hmm.
It's
Hmm.
important to keep those things alive, because you actually don't know.
That
You
is
don't know
true.
who's you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so make sure you still have
Hmm.
your network.
I like that, but I like that, but I want to also bring a different flip to it. You're very right about,
Okay.
not burning bridges. I think it's very important. But then I think there's a perspective, looking at people who were in toxic environments.
Oh
And
no, that's a
even
totally
though
different. That's a totally different boat.
I think
That's
that,
a
but the
totally
funny thing is that I'm still with you in terms of not burning the bridges, but then still kind of like creating those boundaries and just knowing how to balance it out.
That's all. That's
You
all.
see what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they have. I mean, I have worked in an organization once, like a project based whatever thing,
Yeah.
once
And
where you
it was
know
kind of toxic.
it was kind of toxic, and it was crazy because when I was leaving, they were like all these threats. It was just a mess, and I
Mm,
had so many go to moments, but I just had to like reel it in. And even though there were some people I didn't contact again because
yeah.
it was just really tough.
It was just
At
not worth
least
it.
there were still some people that I maintained some relationship with still in that
Exactly.
environment. So I agree with you that that's
You
very
know the saying,
important.
as much as it is up to you, live at peace with all
Yeah.
men.
Yes.
So I mean, if somebody wants to be
No,
a
I don't know the saying. I just said
twat
yes.
about, oh yeah, but it's the saying. So
Okay.
if you want to be a twat about
Yeah.
me, then that's your problem. It's not my
Problem.
problem. As
Exactly.
much as I can, I will be cool. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, I love that. And I
yeah.
was, one thing that I'm really curious about is, did you ever deal with imposter syndrome? I think that's what it's called. In
Did I
any of
ever
these
deal with, or
places.
do I deal with?
Yeah, any of the above.
So
I'm saying that it
yes,
applies to me.
my sister, yes. I just shot my second feature, and
Mm,
this wasn't even commissioned. It was like all on my own, using like the majority of my savings to make a movie, and I
mm.
mean, edit and all that. I still find it a bit weird when people call me director. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't. I mean, when I think director, I'm thinking Steven Spielberg. I'm thinking Nolan. You get what I mean? Those are the people that come into my head when I'm thinking director. So I
Yeah.
don't even see myself in the same pedestal with those people in any sort of way. You know, but I mean, I'm making the work happen. You
Mm,
get what I
mm,
mean? So syndrome is gonna come. It's gonna come. It's
mm,
always going to be there, especially when it's not something inside out.
mm,
I mean,
mm.
shooting Tokunbo, I felt like a complete fraud. You get like
I
a
can
complete
imagine.
fraud. Like how you two are calling yourself director, corporate. But anyway, better go and sit down. You know that kind of thing. But I wanted to make it, and I just gave it my all, and I finished and I put it out there, and the response was honestly truly overwhelming. I mean,
Yeah, that was an
I've had,
amazing
I've
film. I
literally
loved
had
it.
someone come all the way from South Africa. I mean, he had something to do in Nigeria, and he was just like, we need to sit down. We need to have a
Mm,
talk. We need to talk. He
yeah.
just wanted to meet me, and I've met so many people through that project, and I'm
Mm,
just imagining. I mean, if I didn't do it,
yeah.
you know, nothing would
Love
have
that.
happened. So yes, imposter syndrome is real. All you got
Yeah.
to do is tell yourself that every single day, every single person who feels like they are completely in command of whatever it is that they're doing had those moments too.
Hmm, hmm. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I really love that. You know, one of my greatest learnings from, I remember when I was in creative arts, I hated it. I hated,
Mhm.
a lot of it in the beginning, especially when I felt like it wasn't what I was really supposed to do. But there was so much that I learned from that. And one of the things that I really learned, was, the confidence you have to get to be on stage, because to
Stage
be
in
on
front of
stage is
people.
so hard. I find
Yes,
that
it
I
is.
find actors to be very lucky, like the ones who do like film, and stage is so hard. It's like
It is.
maybe electricity, nepa to the light, and people are doing the lines all over again, and people have to be engaged,
Mm.
or you miss your cue and you're just like,
And
or
then
sometimes
you
you
can
want to
actually
speak and you're
and you can
frozen.
see the response. You're getting
Yeah.
immediate
Or
feedback,
you crack a joke that was in the script
and,
and nobody laughs.
and nobody laughs.
It's really crazy. But I find that it really taught me a lot of confidence. And what it does for me, or what it has done for me, is that I can literally go into the room and be talking crap, but be saying it with so much
But be saying with
confidence.
such confidence.
And this is not to
Just
say
say it
people
with
should talk crap.
confidence.
Never do that. As in,
No, don't talk crap.
like, sometimes it's like I'm in the room, I'm ready, I'm ready speaking the Oyibo, I'm speaking the Oyibo. In my head, I'm quickly
Mm.
calculating, okay, this thing they asked me, what does it really mean? I'm not really
Mean
sure.
how am I going to connect this
You
to
know?
what they're saying,
So
because it's
I'm
not
like,
really adding up.
adding up. So like I'm working the math in my head, and I'm like
But your mouth is
talking,
still going,
just
and you're
going,
still
because I'm
looking
like,
calm,
you have to talk.
and you're
So
still looking
I'm
very
like,
calm.
that's what has really come through for me. But I agree with you. But
Yeah.
and I really like what you've mentioned, because even I personally, I feel like my journey has been very interesting. And even now I'm like literally moving into another phase that I've been trying to do
Mhm.
for years, but I'm like, oh, can I, is it time, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like the imposter syndrome will always be there. It will be
It's always going
always
to
be
be
there.
there. That little
Sometimes I
voice
say
at
as
the back
myself,
of your head.
who are you to be making videos, how many, but in the end we just have to do what we got to do, and we move forward.
Mm.
So I wanted
Mm.
to ask you, Rock, about that, especially because if there's something I've really admired about the way you've built your career, I would say, and story, is that one thing I know about you is that you always have like portfolios, like reels and all those type of things. Now, I want to
Mm.
ask you that, what does personal branding look like in the life of a creative who is behind the scenes? And what kind of things, will you consider personal branding to be important? And how would you say that people should build it, especially for people who, how do they develop their personal brand? And I realize that this question is beginning to have one ACB, sorry, but just be listening to
A
the
B
ABC
C D
and
E.
so will you
Just be
consider it
running.
to be important? How will you say a
So,
creative that's behind the scenes, what would you
mm,
consider important for him or her if they were to build a
okay,
personal brand?
okay. Is personal branding important for a creative who's behind the scenes? Absolutely. I think it's even more important for the people behind the scenes than it is for the people in front of the camera or who are on stage, because you're only as good as people believe you are.
Hmm.
Because you find out that in an industry like the entertainment industry, for example, it's all about your name. it's the response people have. It's the thoughts people have when your name comes up. So if someone says your
mm,
name, do people
mm,
associate
mm,
positive feelings with that, or do they
mm,
associate negative feelings with it?
mm,
And
mm,
the idea that you have a brand keeps you from, doing some really stupid stuff that you would probably do if you didn't care. You know, it would
mm,
help. It also is something that creates boundaries for you yourself, because you're thinking to yourself, oh, how do I want to be known? How do I want
mm,
people to think about me? And
mm,
so there are things that you would not do just because you know that it's all about your name.
mm,
That's number one. Number two, what sort of portfolio do you need? There's
mm,
another saying about how you're only as good as your last job.
mm,
So you need to make sure that you're documenting everything that you do, whether
mm,
it's freelance, whether it's stuff you did for a client, whether it's stuff you did just in your home, anything that was put in the eye of the public, make sure it's documented. Make sure your role is clearly shown. You know, that kind of thing. I used to be one of those guys who used to say, "Oh, I beg, who knows me? I'm just behind the scenes." But you realize
mm,
that there are people who are actually watching you. There are people who are actually, I mean, there are times where I've gotten jobs, for example, off Tokunbo. I've gotten
mm,
jobs off an ad that I wrote years ago that I don't even remember, you
mm,
know. But
mm,
just because I did those things really well, and that's another key thing. Anything your hands find to do, do it with all your might. There is no
mm,
little job, there is no big job. So the way it
mm,
works for me is I'm either going to do it or I'm not. So, some people talk about, oh, if it's not this amount of money, blah blah blah. I mean, that's fair. But for me, it's not really about that. It's about whether I believe that this is something I should be doing. And if I believe it's something I should be doing, I make my peace with everything else. It may not be the
mm,
budget I want, but if I
mm,
see that, okay, I can actually get this thing done, and it's something that, I want to do, it's something that I also see is going to add value for both the client and myself, I do
mm,
it. So if, your word is your bond. So if I tell you I'm
mm,
going to do this thing, I'm going to do it. If I tell you I'm not sure, I'm not sure. And if I say I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. So you need a personal brand, very 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 key, because you need people to have certain beliefs about you, and then you need to live it out. So it's not just
mm,
about the branding in terms of the packaging. It's also
mm,
about, I mean, a truly authentic brand is built on who you are, who you
mm.
really are, the
Love
things that you
this.
truly believe about yourself. So I mean, everybody personally has a personal brand, whether they like it or not. You already have one. It's now
Mm.
about whether you want to be smart and intentional about managing that brand, or you just want it to, whatever.
I really love that. I really love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I really like how really emphasized on how people must keep a track record of the work that they do. It's so,
It's
so
very
important. It's so, so important. So it's not just talk, it's what have you actually done, being
What
able
have
to
you
track
done?
that. Uh, yeah, I love that. I love that. And speaking about personal branding now, I'm gonna do a plug. Anyway,
Plug
so
away.
I shouldn't have said. Now that I've done it now, it has ruined the moment. Anyway, you should have told me. You should have told me. You should have written the script properly. Anyway, so speaking about personal branding, so I am launching a
Yes.
personal branding course, right? That's
Okay.
it's really about helping people to rethink personal branding, because I think sometimes people get so carried away with the hype that they forget all these things that
Yes.
you've mentioned, their values, the quality of the work that
Work.
they should
Very key.
do, you know. Sharif mentioned something here as you were talking. He was like, "Do it well," and I'm like, "Yes." Everybody who knows Rogba is
Very
like, "Rogba
important.
does not accept rubbish work." I have worked with you, and even when we're on the same team, you're like, "Dad, this it doesn't look good. Please, can we do it again?"
Will it
You
work?
know, and I know that you're a quality guy, and you
Yeah.
always put, even if it's like the person's not able to do it, yeah, happy to get in there and do what you
Yeah.
can, which is really amazing. And That's what I think that people need to really start rethinking about personal branding. They have to begin
Yes.
to start asking themselves that, what does value really mean? It's not about, oh, I sat down today next to the president and him and I were chilling, I had chicken and chips, or today I feel
Sorry,
like
one
eating
second.
like this. Yes, no
Sorry, one
problem,
second.
Roma.
My son needs to get into the car.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not about the hype and the noise that you make. It's actually about the value you
Yes.
bring to the table, and then when you
Which
deliver
is
that value,
it's all about value. It's
that's
all
what it
about
should be
value.
about. And I think that's why a lot of people have been why a lot of people are disinterested in
The whole
personal
branding
branding,
idea.
because it has really turned into a hype show, and it's me, I do this, but then we
Sorry.
now ask you, yeah, it's okay, what are the
Sorry, I
things that you can
apologize.
actually do?
What's wrong?
It's okay, I just muted you. So it's like, what are the things that you can actually do? Where is the work that you've done? What is this? Where is that? And then we don't have anything to show for it. So I think that it's really important that, just like you said, the value should be there. And that's why I'm
Yes.
introducing this 4-week course that we're launching in July. And by we, I mean me and my team. In July, that really is to help people, rethink what it means to have a personal brand, to show them that these things are not restricted to just Instagram and Facebook or even LinkedIn, like we think. A lot of people,
Yes.
designers, you have creative people who have amazing portfolios on all sorts of platforms, Behance, you name it. People, they're on Medium, they're on all sorts of platforms. And for some people, it's just building that track record on whatever the platform may be. But in the end,
Platform is yes.
we need to go back to, what are your values? Who are you? What's the quality of the work that you can do? And the portfolio of what you've done and how you kind of project that, which is just some of the things that we'll be discussing. So I need to ask you
Yeah.
now, being someone who has known me for what, like 10 years, 15, 20, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not
I've
really
known you
old,
for a
Sha.
long time.
Is that what
A
I say?
really
If I
long
say
time.
you are old, but me, I'm not really old. So very long time. I had to. So, what do you think? People, will you advise people to join this personal branding course? What do you think?
Okay, so yes, I would advise people to join this personal branding course. And that's not just because I know you, but it's because I've worked with you. Um Everybody that knows me knows that recommendations from me are very hard to come by
Oh, shit.
because I will tell the truth. I don't know how to sugarcoat stuff. But you're one of the few people that when I want to take my leaps of faith, I will come to and say, Dara, I'm about to do this thing. So we need to think this thing through together. All right. So this is the step. You understand what I'm saying? I've worked
Yeah.
with you on campaigns. I've worked with you. I mean, I've called you even in terms of my own personal branding at different times, and you've come through.
Oh,
I've
that's true.
seen your growth.
I did your
Yeah, I've
voice.
seen I've seen your growth over the years, and I know above all else, you're very passionate about what you do. So you're not one of those people that is saying, "Oh, come and do personal branding just because." You're actually doing personal branding because you actually believe it's an important thing, and you actually do want to add value. I tell people, and don't let your head swell, but I tell people that you're one of the most honest people I know on the planet. And if people were like, I should nominate one honest person, I would nominate you. So enough of swelling your head now. But everybody,
Sherry
honestly,
said Sheriff came on this show and told everybody that he must sign up for this course. Now he's now saying
yeah,
you
because
hater.
because your head is swelling, because your head is swelling, your head is swelling. But on the rails, guys, honestly, I think you should sign up for this course. It's something that would honestly have a major impact on your career.
Thank you for that, Rogba. And as we wrap up today, Rogba, thank you so much for coming on board.
No
As we
problem at
wrap
all. It was
up,
my
you
pleasure.
know, thank you for always being so reliable. Every time we ask you to every time I say, "Oh, Rogba, I'm doing this," you're like, "I got you," and you always
No,
got me
no,
truly. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Just before you leave, the only thing I want you to
yeah.
touch on now is because I know how passionate you are about impact-based projects, and I think that people
Yeah.
should be, because we're
Yeah.
Nigerians, we're Africans. In
Yeah.
the end, we all have a role to play, whether you're here or you jackpot or be anywhere you like in the
You need
world.
to help. We need to.
In
We
the
need to
end,
grow. We need to grow our own. We need
exactly,
to
we need
build
to
our
grow
own.
our industries, we need to grow our people. We all have a role to
Yeah.
play. So, what does
Yes.
why are you interested? How important will you say impact-based projects are, and how will you say that a creative can help uh can how will you say creative can create can contribute to development, can contribute to, really impact work in Nigeria and Africa?
So, for me personally, impact-based work is the core of why I'm working. So I work and learn and grow so that I can take those skills, those resources, and transfer it into something that I feel will build the entire
Mm,
industry. I remember when we started Night House, we were a bunch of kids just trying to
mm,
make a difference. And at that time, there weren't any real small labels. It was just the big ones. But we wanted to make a difference. And one of the things we did was the Street Scriptures project, which
mm.
was how do we get little artists
I
into the
remember.
limelight? How do we pair them up with established acts? And since then, I mean, I saw the impact of what that did. I've seen, artists that nobody knew become mega
Hmm,
stars, you
hmm.
know, right before my eyes. And I mean, I'm not saying it was solely because of
Yeah.
me or because of that project, but it was a stone in that wall. It was a brick in that wall that was being built.
Hmm.
So we have one Africa, no matter where we go in the world. We have
Yeah.
one Nigeria. We don't have another one. Nigeria is your home, whether you like it or not. I mean, you can live all your life in
Absolutely.
the US, burn your passport, whatever you like. But Nigeria is probably the only place that no one is going to look at you and think you're a second class citizen
Hmm.
because this is your country. And I feel like we have allowed for a really long time other people tell our narrative. Either it's the
Thank you.
colonialists or it's the people who didn't know how, or it's the government. I
Yeah.
mean, look at what young people were able to do with the music industry and the movie
Yeah.
industry, and now with the fashion industry, with the
Yeah.
comedy. We're
Yeah.
building our own things, and it's
Yeah.
important that we grow these things. It's important
Hmm.
that we tell our own stories,
Hmm.
because the lion is always going to be the villain in the hunter's story
Hmm. Hmm.
until the lion decides to write a biography.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Word, word, word.
So that's it.
Someone said, "Oh, we have one question. We have to take it before we go." But just before we go to
Okay.
the question, because we have to run now, to join
Yeah.
the wait list for the course, kindly read. We put the link in the bio. In Not in the bio. This
In
is
the
an IG
description,
in
in the
the
chat.
yeah, in the chat box. So you see the link there. So if you sign up early enough and you join our wait list, they're exclusives for you. I won't say it now because I've never discussed it with the team, but it is good to note that if you join the wait list, if you join the wait
Yeah.
list, you're way better than anybody who doesn't join the wait list. So it's
Yeah.
bit.ly. I'm going to attempt to read this out. bit.ly /BYT waitlist. So it's bit.ly /BYT waitlist. So just join and
Mhm.
you'll get all that's coming to you. Thank
Okay.
you so much for that about the impact work. I really love that. We really have to start controlling our narratives. I'm so irritated when I'm still trying to make a design and I can't see a decent person who's coming from Africa or Nigeria. All the
Making
all
it,
the
yeah.
images are people that don't have clothes, are looking hungry, and I'm like, no. Are
Or
you
in
trying to tell me
villages.
that we
No,
hang
that's
on
that's not
trees,
Nigeria.
or we only live in village? I'm like, come on. But you're right. This is as a result of us not controlling our narrative and not
Controlling our
telling our
narrative.
stories.
Yeah.
So Oluwatobi says, one question, please. What's the difference between branding and advertisement?
Dara, since you are the brand consultant, you should take that question.
Okay, good. I can take the question. So with advertising, I think that you can really call this push and pull. with advertising, it's almost like so advertising is usually on platforms. So you see, I mean, in the traditional sense, then you go and you run a full campaign. It's scheduled to a particular time. It should be on radio, it should be on TV. Or if it's for a personal person, it's almost like when an artist is doing a tour, and then you see that today he's on radio, tomorrow he's on TV, the other day he's on social media. But what we are saying with personal branding is, I don't even advise that people should go that route unless you have like a course that you're launching or like a book. If not, that is not necessary. You don't even need to put yourself under that kind of pressure. The only thing we're saying is that, first of all, you should have a clear understanding of what your values are. You should solidify those. You should create a portfolio of your work, and then you should create a brand trail that you can maintain. Now, you don't always have to put this out there it doesn't always have to be, oh, this is my content schedule. If you're not like, I don't know, like an artist or an actor, I don't even know. Even there, I don't think they have content schedules for their everyday, unless they're like promoting something in particular. Some of them do, because Rogba is like this. So a lot of them
They do. Yeah.
They do.
So
But
I'd like
if
to
you're,
just
yeah.
okay, no,
Okay.
finish.
Yeah, but if you're an individual, if you're in the corporate sector, in the creative sector, I think it's important that you create something that you can maintain, that you feel comfortable with, that's not fake, that's not authentic. Because I find that sometimes for entertainers, and rightfully so, they even have to create a different persona. Because if you know their exact personal, like their personalities, nobody will associate themselves with them. You hate them, So sometimes there's a need to create another brand. But if this is you, and you're who you are, like Rogba has said, you don't need to create another brand. You just need to own who you are and then project that in a consistent and a comfortable manner and an authentic manner. So I would say that's the difference.
Yeah. So I'd just like to add that if you wanted to boil it down to a few sentences, I would say advertising is what you say about yourself on like major platforms, while branding is what people actually believe, people actually believe about you and what they say about you.
Yeah,
that's
love that. Punchline, please. Maz, my team is here. Please, we need to record. I need to see that on a quote. We need to put that. I need to promote this course. That was major. That was dope. Okay, I shouldn't say that was great. that was a great line. But thank you so much, Rogba. This was
no problem at all.
This was such a helpful session. Even I have learned so much from this session, and I am always learning from your journey. For all the times that you came to consult and I didn't bill you, I will send you your invoice accordingly in dollars. But you cannot invoice me for this session. But thank you so much for always being so supportive of my own journey and being supportive of creatives as well. I pray that God blesses you always, and I look forward to all the great work that we will continue to do together. Thank you. All righty. Have a good day.
Have a lovely day, you guys.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.